So with our handsome Mr. R, we're going to work a little bit with some loose leash walking, but also discuss a little bit with leash pressure and how to kind of help him be set up for success. So for example, with Mr. R, he's like, oh, there's a crumb. Ready? So I really love in the beginning starting off with a body harness. The reason behind that is it's going to keep your pup from potentially getting neck injuries. So remember that every dog has the same anatomy from Chihuahua to Great Dane. So if they're doing a lot of pulling on their neck, where their trachea, their thyroid glands are, as well as also some of those other important spinal scenarios there, so you have the big nerve as well, is we can cause trachea damage and other scenarios where harm can be done to the neck. So my favorite is to sometimes with a powerful or more wiggly, bigger boy or girl, is to use a front clip harness. So the reason he is wearing, and this one's the Freedom harness, doesn't mean this is the brand you have to go with. He's going to go check out all the stinky toys and smells. Ready? Yes. So you'll see that every once in a while I'm doing some find its with Mr. Handsome. I'm also doing some of those positive interrupters, which is where I make the kissy noise and I feed him for the check-in. I'm going to also just be feeding him throughout any behavior I find beneficial. So if he's doing a great job checking in, staying soft next to me, not jumping, not mouthing, offering a sit, I'm going to feed him for all these moments. Remember that if your pup has to work really hard and only be fed for the best response or the best setup, that might be sometimes too hard for your pup. So if let's say he was attempting by giving me in the beginning just a side glance versus a full eye contact moment, I'm going to feed for all of those attempts because I want him to think there's value in at least trying. So with Mr. Handsome for leash pressure, is I like to practice with my pup right in front of me. So what I'd recommend is you're going to have your regular 6-foot leash. I like to, again, use the front clip on a more stronger or pup that's learned that pulling gets him places. This doesn't mean that, again, the gear is going to create behavior or change him, but the gear will be sort of like stepping stones where almost like training wheels can help you be setting yourselves up for learning how to ride a bike. So the training wheels don't teach you how to ride a bike. Someone still has to teach you how to pedal, again, steer and turn, and also learn how to stop. I mean, goodness, chewing is also optional. So for Mr. Handsome in front of me, I'm going to have my leash short enough so when I go to pull on the equipment, when he feels the tug, there's food involved. So the benefit of this is you're teaching your puppy is when there's pressure, that it means to come into your zone and check in, versus pressure means blow through it and ignore. If he does not always respond, I do like to pair it sometimes with that positive interrupter to regain his focus. So I am not one for leash pops or corrections, and the reason behind that is it's typically done out of the human's frustration and agitation. It also doesn't teach your dog that, again, they're doing something wrong. They just think that you're upset with them, and they don't understand why one behavior is sometimes comfortable and one is not. So from his perspective, we want to be showing him what we'd rather versus correcting him for the mistakes he might be doing along the way, because maybe culturally he doesn't understand what is the benefit of walking slowly next to you on gear. So in the beginning, I start off with my puppy in front, I do a little pull, and I kind of feed for those responses. So again, he's in front of me, and I do a little pull, and I feed. And again, a little pull, and I feed. So the benefit of this game is that as your puppy feels the pressure from the leash, it equals come check in for a paycheck. So you'll see that I'm not overwhelming him. He shouldn't be feeling scared or flustered by this exercise. This is, again, like someone tapping you on the shoulder and telling you what they would like from you after they got your attention. Beautiful. If your puppy, for example, blows through your leash, which means they pull, remember that pulling for dogs is immensely reinforcing. So what I mean by that is if your puppy pulls and it brings them to a new bush to go pee on or smell, then pulling was, oh my goodness, chewing. Then pulling was a really great behavior to keep doing because it got you what you wanted. My goodness, chewing is optional. Mr. R says, hold on, I have to hawk those up and try again. So chewing will be something maybe we'll work on throughout the weeks. So for Mr. R, as he's warming up, my goodness, you got it okay? So I have my leash nice and relaxed. I like to typically put my lead through my thumb so I don't become injured. What a lot of people do is they wrap the leash around their wrist and then they wrap the leash around their hand, and that's a really great way to cause hand, wrist, and arm injuries. It is better at times to just let go and then regain the control or focus again after. So I like to have my leash nice and relaxed. And then from there, let's say we're going to practice, I do recommend to also have the lead on the opposite side. So if you're working your dog on your left, I like to have my leash then on the right, collect it up where there's a bit of a bend. So I like to either think about it as like a happy face or a J shape to the leash. So now as I'm practicing with Mr. Handsome, I'm going to use my food in the beginning to lure him into the position near my leg. Remember that eventually you want to fade out your lure. We'll dive more into these behaviors and what I mean by doing luring, capturing, and shaping. If he is more of a right side guy, again, whichever side is more comfortable for you or for him, I don't care. So you can actually teach him to do both sides, and I find that's very helpful. So let's say we're walking, and again, my puppy, let's pretend he pulls ahead, and then there's tension. When he feels the pull, it means come check back in. So you never want to pull back on gear and still walk in the same direction, because that'll teach your puppy to blow through your leash and blow through your equipment. So right now he's doing a great job finding his little crumbs that he left behind. So with Mr. R in the beginning, I'm going to lure him to be somewhat near me. I would recommend that if, let's say, he's taking food hard, there are times where your puppies can be a little bit too excited. And if they're taking food hard, that normally means they're overwhelmed, they're stressed, they could be too excited. So over arousal is maybe what's happening. And in that situation, he's just watching my 4-year-old. In that situation, then that means your babe probably needs a softer environment or more practice to know what to do so they don't get so flustered. But yes, my love. Okay, so Ebba needs to take a quick little potty break, so my 4-year-old is here to help. Mr. R will get back into some loose leash walking in just a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him to his little bubble, and then I'll bring her to the restroom, and then we'll practice a few more skills when it comes to this loose leash walking.